The association between melamine in the kidneys and urine of cats that died and the melamine that was in the food they consumed is undeniable. Additionally, melamine is an ingredient that should not be in pet food at any level. However, I want to make it very clear at this point that we are not fully yet certain that melamine is the causative agent of illness and death in pets.
Well, that was the FDA's Director for Veterinary Medicine earlier today, confirming the chemical melamine in contaminated pet food, but stopping short of blaming it for causing the deaths of pets. But we are now joined by Bruce Friedrich. He is with PETA, and you guys have a different take on what's going on here. Bruce, why don't you take us through where you guys see this situation and where this might all be headed?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that this was not a confirmation of this new causative agents. This was news. Nobody had been saying that this was what was causing problems previously. What we don't know continues to far outpace what we do know with regard to this pet food recall. But what we can say for certain is that Menu Foods appears to have learned that their food was sickening and killing companion animals on about February 20th. Menu didn't get around to issuing a recall for almost a month. During that time, an awful lot of animals suffered and died. People watched their companion animals, their dogs and cats, suffer miserably and then die. We're calling for a criminal investigation. Certainly it is morally reprehensible the way that Menu Foods CEO and Menu as a whole dealt with the situation. We're calling for a criminal investigation as well. The FDA, it's important to remember, at no point did the FDA suggest that a recall was necessary. Menu did this voluntarily. So the fact that the FDA is now saying that, yes, this ingredient was shipped to a dry food manufacturer, but we're not going to tell you who that dry food manufacturer is, and we're not going to issue a recall, that should terrify people, in our opinion, because PETA, the FDA, and many other agencies are hearing from just scores, I mean, many people who fed their companion animals only dry food, and their animals got sick and their animals died. So we are wishing that Menu Foods, that IAMS, that the FDA would err on the side of dogs and cats rather than erring on the side of profit for these industries, but unfortunately they're going in the other direction.
So your focus is not on whoever it was that let this stuff into the food chain in the first place, but the people at the final end who did not say there was a problem soon enough.
Well, our focus is on doing whatever is going to be best for dogs and cats, and also for dog and cat guardians. People are understandably very confused. Yesterday, Menu Foods was saying that it was rat poison. Today, the FDA says no, it's not rat poison, it's this other ingredient in fertilizer. Yesterday, Menu Foods was saying it's just this one plant in Kansas. Today, the FDA is saying, well, actually, it looks like it's probably 2 plants, and we don't even really know that. We do know that it was shipped to a dry food manufacturer. We're not going to tell you who that dry food manufacturer is, and we're not going to issue a recall. Considering that when Menu Foods did their test on these companion animals 2 weeks before they issued the recall, 1 in 6 of those animals died. The food was so toxic. They've now recalled 60 million packs and cans of companion animal food. I mean, they're telling us that hundreds of thousands of people have complained. The possibility that this is far and away, exponentially, the worst pet food tragedy in certainly the history of North America, it seems pretty likely. And the fact that the FDA is not taking it more seriously, the FDA is violating the trust of people who expect them to ensure that when I buy dog or cat food at the grocery store and feed it to my cat or dog, I should be able to assume that that dog or cat food is not going to kill, in my case, Gracie, our cat. And we no longer have that assurance, and it's really very, very sad.
All right, now, Bruce, you mentioned Menu Foods and what they've had to say over the past few days. The head of Menu Foods had a press conference today. He was speaking once again, trying to explain what happened here. Paul Henderson, I think we have a clip of that. Let's take a look at what he had to say, and let's get your reaction to it.
Let me be clear on this. We have removed the problem from our system. Our recall is well underway, and products produced today are being made with known quality and tested raw materials. As a result, I can say with complete confidence, today to consumers, to our customers, to governments, that Menu Foods continues to uphold the high standards for which it has been known since 1971.
All right, now, Bruce, what more can they really do here? I mean, you know, where does this leave them?
Well, I mean, forgive me, but high standards since 1971, it's laughable. This guy talked to the Canadian press about a week ago, and when asked why they didn't consider it to be a problem on February 20th, when they started getting reports of animals who got sick and died after eating their food, he said, dogs and cats die, basically. We did an undercover investigation into an animal testing lab in Missouri. Their #1 customer was Iams. Their #2 customer was Menu Foods. The animals were being driven insane. The animals were living in dilapidated conditions. They were being debarked. Last week, Sinclair Labs, that lab, was fined for 40 violations of the Animal Welfare Act. Menu Foods was their #2 customer. People should boycott Menu Foods, should boycott Iams until these corporations regain the public trust by refusing to test their products on companion animals. North Americans, Canadians, and Americans don't support testing products on dogs and cats in order to, you know what, protect the bottom line. Obviously, it's not working, or we wouldn't be having hundreds of thousands of people flooding Menu Foods consumer hotline, thousands of people reporting that their animals ate these foods and died, and the FDA now saying that as of, you know, this morning, Menu Foods got it completely wrong. What they've been saying was the problem isn't actually the problem. I don't know how he can be taken seriously.
Where does that leave those of us who own pets? Menu Foods is supplying something like 100 brands. So somebody who wants to make sure they're getting something that is safe for their pet, what do we do? Are there enough other suppliers out there, or do we start feeding them table scraps?
Well, we have recommendations on our website, which is just PETA.org. It is worth noting that all of the companion animal foods who refuse to test their products on dogs and cats, none of them are subject to this recall. In the United States, we have ostensible regulation that goes completely unenforced. In Canada, you have no regulation whatsoever. So you really should be demanding of your representatives, demanding of your Prime Minister that they take this issue seriously. We are, in North America, we are nations of animal lovers, and yet the animals we love the most are dogs and cats. In Canada, you have no pet food regulation whatsoever. In the United States, we have some ostensibly, but it's totally not enforced, completely and totally not enforced. And you know, because our countries do share as much as we're seeing that they share, we all need to get together and demand of our legislators, demand of our executive branches that they take this issue seriously, because it's not just the pet food manufacturers who are violating their trust, it's also our governments who are violating our trust.
Bruce, we only got about a minute left. You mentioned a criminal investigation. That seems a little extreme here. I mean, you know, product recalls happen and these incidents happen in all kinds of products. I mean, criminal investigation, that seems a little bit extreme.
Look, Menu Foods knew on February 20th that their products were causing animals to get sick. And 2 weeks later, they did a toxicity test that killed 1 in 6 of the animals. Took them 10 days to issue the recall. Morally speaking, the blood of those animals is on the Menu Foods CEO hands. If Iams knew about it, it's on their hands. And we believe that there should be a criminal investigation, and they should be held accountable, if legally possible, held accountable, cruelty to animals charges for every single animal that died. Menu Foods is a corporation. Iams is a corporation if they knew, and every single executive who was involved in delaying the recall while animals were getting sick and dying, they need to be held responsible. They violated the public trust, and they're responsible for the deaths of those animals.
Do we have any idea of how many pets out there actually died? I mean, I haven't seen a lot of headlines saying thousands of animals dying from this.
Well, if you go online, you can find unconfirmed reports of about 3,000 so far. Every veterinarian who you talk to has a couple. Multiply that by all of the veterinarians in North America, and you're talking an awful lot. You think about the fact that their toxicity tests that they did killed 1 in 6 of the animals. 60 million packs have been recalled, but what we now know to be true is that the ingredient actually is in dry foods, which haven't even been recalled yet. I know 2 people personally who lost companion animals just in the last 2 weeks from renal failure, which is what's killing animals now. You know, we don't know, but the mind boggles at the possibilities.
All right, Bruce, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us. Bruce
Thank you.
Friedrich, he is a vice president at PETA. He joined us from Washington. We want to hear from you on this or anything else you see on the show. You can reach us at SqueezePlay.